Blessed Sabbath, everyone. I am here to share my testimony with you. My name is Davina Gale, and I am a Seventh-day Adventist. Back in 2013, I was this size. So there goes my before picture. That is me back in 2013. This person speaking to you today was that person back in 2013. There goes a little bit of my wheat belly, I call it. And that was me 2017, my transformation. And what I would like to share with you today is, I just want to let you know that your transformation is possible. And it is possible through Christ Jesus, who strengthens you. And a little bit about my own story. So 2013, I was a UK size, as you can see, 22, 24, thereabout. Today, I'm a size 8'10", UK. And 2017, I was about a size 10, 12. And I have maintained my weight since then. I know it looks like a completely different person. Yes, your transformation too is possible. It is not a different person. It is indeed me. I'm here in life, flesh and blood. My complexion may even look different. I use absolutely nothing on my skin but water. But my complexion then, all those dark spots, was as a result of the buildup of toxins in my body. So 2013, just to share a little overview of myself, my background. My diet, I used to have a diet that was very rich and toxic, right? So my breakfast used to be something like curry goat with oxtail, curry goat with fried dumpling. And my lunch used to be something like oxtail with rice and peas. And then my supper used to be something like jerk chicken. And I used to always have wine or cocktail with my meals. Coffee was the order of the day for me. I used to drink like a whole pot of coffee or a whole pot of tea. My body was very toxic and I got very ill. I got also very depressed to the point of suicide. But praise the Lord, here I am today. He kept me so I could share today my testimony with you. And I pray that my testimony today will inspire and motivate someone and will save a life. Before I go any further, it is only important that I invite the presence of the Lord. So bow your heads with me as we pray. Father who art in heaven, I give you thanks for sparing my life so that I can have this opportunity to share my testimony with your people. I give you thanks as well for this invitation. And I pray that my testimony that you have blessed me with will be an inspiration and a motivation to those persons who are listening today. I pray a blessing upon their lives and upon this church. This is my prayer in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so that was a typical diet for me. And my lifestyle used to be, I get up very early in the mornings, I drive to work and I used to be an operations manager for a restaurant, a group of restaurants in the UK. And I would get up, drive to work, drive to my different locations that I oversee. And my job included a lot of getting from point A to point B. And then when I'm in the office, I'm sitting down for the rest of the day. Yes, sometimes I would go on the restaurant floors and do a few movements, but not enough to really constitute anything much. I didn't have time for the gym, didn't have time for exercise. So it was just eating a lot of lovely, delicious food then and working very hard. And a lot of toxic food clearly as well. And it impacted this living machinery. It affected me negatively, just as it would anyone else. I became depressed, but not only did I suffer from chronic depression, but I also had diabetes. I also had a high blood pressure. I also had angina. And I remember that was maybe the worst one for me, that affected me physically, because that came with so much intense pain. And also the rheumatoid arthritis. I had rheumatoid arthritis, and that was a very painful experience as well. When I woke up in the mornings, I was in so much pain. It used to radiate through my bone marrow. The angina, I could barely walk. So if I was going up a stairs, where one of my locations that I work, I had to go up a lot of stairs. And I remember from going to work, that location in the mornings, and the lift is not working, I would just literally just start sweating right away from the anxiety and the stress of just knowing that I had to climb the stairs. Yeah, because every step I make, I had to stop. So I had to stop, breathe, relax, then make the next step. That's how I used to have to go up the stairs. Otherwise, this heart here used to just tighten up so much. Used to tighten up so much, and I was in so much pain back then. And the heart is over here, by the way, isn't it? Yeah. Right. So I used to suffer. I used to suffer a lot. In the mornings, every bone in my body ached. Every bone ached. I suffered from a migraine headache. I suffered from chronic and acute sinusitis. The bones, I had bones in my back, that in my cervical spine, as well as between the joint between my lumbar and my sacrum, that were calcifying, and that too was very painful. Well, did treatment. The doctors was told that you get to a stage where you can walk and you can go back to work, you can get back into society, but you will always have this lingering pain for the rest of your life. You will just have to live with it. And if it ever gets extremely severe where you can't manage, then here's a prescription for some repeat painkillers. And that was life for me, right? However, it did not have to be. I decided, I realized that if I didn't change, I was gonna die, right? And as I said, anyway, I'd gotten depressed to the point of suicide, which is just even another section of my testimony. But however, I decided I needed to make a change. And so one of the very first things I did, I had friends that are from the medical field, and it's always said that disease begins firstly in the gut. So I decided, let me clean my gut, let me get my bowel cleansed, because then, as you see my picture, the size of the gut that I had, right? Let me just show you again. So that was my gut. I needed to get that clean. And that gut, by the way, is well tucked in. That's when it looked nice and flat, all right? It's well tucked in with my girdle and all going right up to under the breast line there. So I decided, let me clean my gut first. So the very first thing I did a hydrocolon cleanse. And that was the first step. The first major step, then I should say, towards my change. First major steps towards my change of diet and lifestyle. However, by the time I'd gotten there, there were a few small steps that I'd started taking, like I'd reduce the amount of meat that I was eating. I'd sort of cut down on red meat. I'd sort of remove red meat from my diet. I'd probably eat red meat maybe once per week. By the time I did the colon cleanse, I'd reduce that. So I used to have mostly fish, chicken, and red meat maybe once per week. And I used to have more vegetables, started incorporating a little salad and stuff like that. I tried to, according to the knowledge that I had then, I tried to use it to the best of my ability. But I knew that I needed to do something more to speed up the process of my change. I knew I needed to go fully plant-based, because I am a graduate of Northern Caribbean University. And I remember very clearly when I was there, and I was doing my studies, I knew and I learned that, vegans live longer than vegetarians, and vegetarians even live longer than meat eater. But I knew that a whole food plant-based diet was, well, I didn't know those terminologies then. I just knew vegan, vegetarian, right? But I knew that going vegan would be much better for my health. I could live longer, I could have less diseases. So I eventually removed all flesh foods from my diet. But what I didn't understand was that there was a vegetarian lifestyle, or a whole food plant-based lifestyle is more than just removing the flesh of dead animals, which is one of the first steps, but it's also about nourishing your body by eating food that is now nutrient dense and avoiding like processed foods, etc. I didn't know that bit. So I removed, and which impacted my health also negatively later on. But that was later down in the picture that impacted my health negatively. So I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, learned a lot about myself, understood a bit about nutrition. But in my pursuit in changing my own diet and lifestyle to improve my health, I decided I needed to study. I needed to do some further studies in nutrition. And so I did this course with Andrews University in Health and Wellness. And I'm telling you, that course changed my life. It was one of the best decisions that I've ever made for my whole self. So I learned a lot. And just from that course alone, I was able to reverse the high blood pressure. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my high blood pressure, my diabetes, how they used to treat me really, really bad. So I was at death's door, right? I remember once I was in the middle of a class, teaching a class, and I just remember someone asking me, are you okay? And the next thing I know, I remember I was on my back and I was looking up, and there was like a whole bunch of people looking down on me, and everybody asking, are you okay? Can you get up? And I said, yes, I can get up. And then I tried to get up and I realized I couldn't move. I couldn't get up. So I was helped up and put into my office. And, the nurse came, checked the blood pressure, the blood sugar and everything, and see that everything is sort of through the roof. So it was like that. I had several other experiences after that where I'm even on my way home from work, and I then found myself hanging on to the side of a park bench. So, I've been at home and faint in the house as well. So, I was right there because of my diet and my lifestyle. And then I decided I had to start walking more. And I used to drive to work. Even though I lived close to work, I used to drive to work. And then I decided I'm going to park this car and I'm not going to drive to work anymore. I'm going to start walking to work. So I started walking to work. And as I walked every day, the pep in my steps increased, and I was able to walk a little bit further than work. And I started enjoying my walking, started feeling a little bit better physically, but still had, a little bit improvement, but still had a lot of health issues. Now, just backtracking a little bit, right? So back in 2013, when I was massively overweight and had all sort of diseases, then this is how it impacted my my mind, how the disease impacted my mind, and what led me to want to commit suicide. When you eat, and this you may know as well as you may not know, when we eat the flesh of dead animals, what we've got to understand is the way how the Bible prescribed for animals to be killed. That's hardly and rarely done these days. Not only that, but animals they go through a lot of physical abuse and emotional abuse. And they do have feelings and emotions like you and myself. As we can see, they have families. You've got animals that, male and female, that literally they produce kids and they stick together, right? For life until death. You will see when one dies, the other one will actually cry. You will see a dog will go into depression. An animal, birds, They do have love, they do have emotions, just like us. God has made them with emotions, right? Oh, the animals are being abused. So you go on a farm, that produces large production. You'll find that the animals are badly abused. They're fed the flesh of other dead animals. They are beaten badly. They're kicked and boxed about, right? Now, they also witness the death of other animals, the abuse one of other animals, and then when they're being slaughtered, they witness the slaughtering of other animals. They smell the blood, they hear the crying out, and it drives fear into the animals. It also they also produce a lot of fear hormones and a lot of anxiety. And when they die, this is right there in their cells. So when we eat, and when I used to just consume so much flesh in my diet, all this meat, then of course I'm taking on all that fear hormone, I'm taking all that anxiety hormone, all those stress hormones that are being produced, that were produced upon death. I have taken them in. The life of depression that the animals live because of the abuse that goes on around them, and the conditions also that they had to live in, where, to preserve the cow's flesh from not being too hard and for it to remain nice and tender, for the chef to be able to cook it in 15 minutes, cook a piece of sirloin steak in 15 minutes in a restaurant. The animal is born in a cubicle, and they stay in that cubicle until it is time for slaughtering. They don't get to walk around and exercise and live like free animals. They have to stay there so their flesh can maintain, its softness, so that meat can cook quickly. Now, all of that inactivity and disease that is in that animal, I then consume. I then take that onto myself. So, of course, it affected my mental capabilities, and I got depressed. Just like any animal, I got seriously depressed, and I felt like my only way out of the black hole that I was in was suicide. So I had put I crossed all my T's and dot all my I's. I put everything in place to exit this world. So I had, I was in my 30s and I had a life insurance, but I still went and buy myself an additional 2 life insurances. I made my will. I signed an agreement for, my guardian for my daughter and stuff like that. I put everything in place to commit suicide and to leave this world, and for everything to be okay with my daughter that I was going to leave behind. I sort of cut off communication with my whole family and with my friends to sort of allow everyone an opportunity to sort of break the bonds with me, so they don't miss me that much when I'm gone. That's the effect of flesh food in the diet, right? A lot of the depression that is going around is literally from the diet and the lifestyle that we live. Now, the day when I remember sitting in my living room and I was telling a friend, I said to him, I'm going to commit suicide. And he said, why? And then I was explaining to him why. I was giving him the reasons. I was there physically with him, but mentally I had zoned out. I remember he wanted to, it's like he wanted to call the police, but he wasn't sure what to do, but he just knew that he could not leave me where I was at to even make a move. But then my phone rang, right? So as I say, I was saying to him, my life is toxic. I've lost my smile. I'm not the person who I used to be, and I was making a few more statements and, explaining to him why I was going to commit suicide. And then my phone rang, and it was a very strange call. It was my friend's husband, but this person never normally calls me. So I thought to myself, I have to answer this call because something must be wrong with my friend. So I answered the call, and I started panicking. And I said, "Is Sister K okay?" And the person said, "Yes, she's all right." And then I said, "Are the boys okay?" And I said, "Yes, they're fine." And I went, "Okay, so to what do I owe this call?" The call was on speakerphone, so the other person who I was talking to could hear the conversation as well. So he said to me, "I have been praying and fasting, and the Lord has told me to call you and to let you know that he loves you. And even though you believe that your life is toxic and you have lost your smile and things, you're not the person who you used to be. And in the very same statements that I just told the person is the very same statements the person on the phone just related back to me. And when they started saying that, they said, but the Lord wants to heal you. He wants to restore you. And, they went on a bit. And then at the end, he said, can I pray for you? And I can tell you this, for about 10 years or so, no one could pray for me. Whenever someone asked, can I pray for you? I would always say, no, thank you. And I said, in this case, I said, yes, you can. And he prayed for me. And I remember just breaking down and started crying. And I asked the Lord to forgive me. I said, I changed my mind. I don't want to die again. And the person who I was talking to, they said to me, did you call this person before and tell them that you were going to commit suicide? I said, no. They said, then how come they would know all the statement, and they would say it in the same exact order as which you have just told me? They've made the very same statements. They've used the same words. How come? I said, no, I never called that person. You're the first person. This is the first time I'm mentioning this to someone. By the way, I must say that person today, as well as surrendered their life to the Lord, and they're now a Sabbath keeper. So praise God for that. But they were completely in shock. And my spiritual life before was one of this. I didn't really believe. I didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. I didn't believe in the Bible. I didn't believe in the spirit of prophecy. I didn't believe in the Sabbath. I just knew there was a God, but I didn't know who he was or where he was. But I knew this world did not come about by no Big Bang or no dust or anything like that. So I remember going outside on my balcony and I was crying, and I said, Lord, please forgive me. As of from today, I'm going to believe that there is a God. I'm going to believe that Jesus Christ is your son. I'm going to believe in the Bible. And, I just started talking to the Lord. And, and I said, I'm going to believe that Sister White is your prophetess. And if I'm wrong in any way about anything, then reveal it to me in due time. But I'm going to choose to believe, and I'm going to choose to walk in the way. And then if I'm doing anything wrong, reveal it to me. And that was my journey on the suicide part. Now I said, but God, you've got to change my life. You've got to make it, you've got to take away this toxicity. You've got to make a difference. Something has to give, something has to happen. You've got to help me, because I don't know how to fix it myself. I'm hopeless. I feel hopeless. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to change my situation. You've got to help me. And he did hear my cry, and he did answer every bit of my prayer. And I needed to lose the weight. I was in a lot of pain, and I asked him about that as well. Help to ease myself of this pain, because as I said, the pain from the rheumatoid arthritis, it used to radiate through my bone marrows. It was so painful. Everywhere there is bone marrow in my body used to just hurt so badly. It's a pain that if you feel it, you've never ever felt that pain before. And when it goes away, that's it. You don't want to ever feel that type of pain again. It's a different type of pain. And I don't have rheumatoid arthritis anymore today. I no longer have high blood pressure. I no longer have diabetes. I no longer have obesity. I no longer have fibroids. I no longer have angina. I no longer have, my bones are no longer calcifying. Not only that, but they have returned to normal. Everything has been reversed. And as you can clearly see on my skin, the toxin has left my body. My complexion, I don't need to say much about it. You're able to see for yourself. And I no longer have my big gut. As you can see, I'm flat as the wall. And in terms of health in general, the Lord has helped me to transform my life. So I slowly staged out the flesh foods. And then I came off red meat first. And then I eventually came off chicken. And then I remember when I came off fish, and that was, it's like a landmark in my journey when I stopped fish, because I remember just telling my friend, so I had a housemate that we shared a house together. And I kept saying to her, I don't want to eat any more fish. I just want to stop. And she says, yes, me too. I don't want to have any more. So we went shopping. We didn't buy any. And then one day she came home with a whole box of fish and we cooked them off. And then I said, that's it, the last time, no more fish, no more fish. Then she came home another time and she came home with saltfish. And I said, I don't want any. And it was there for a long while. Nobody was using it. And then I remember one day coming home and I believe I fasted that day. I went to work, or maybe I didn't fast, but I went to work and I didn't eat at work because I don't want the food there, because I don't want any flesh. And I started, I was now very careful of what I put into my body. I was very careful. So I was coming home famished and I was just looking forward to dinner. And I remember getting off the lift on the third floor and I smelled Jamaican ackee and saltfish. And I went, oh my God. And I held my head because I knew that was coming from my flat. Because we were only Jamaicans on the flat in the building, really. And I knew that was coming from there. And I'm like, well, what am I going to eat? I'm dying of hunger. And I went in and lo and behold, there was ackee and saltfish. And I said, I can't eat any. And she said, oh, it's just a one time, it's not going to kill you. And I said, no, it doesn't have to kill me or not. I'm not going to eat it. And I remember I just opened a tin of peas and I just made myself some quick stew peas, which I ate with either the rice or the whatever she had cooked. But that was a pivotal moment in my journey to overcome appetite. But if I didn't do that, I would probably still be struggling to renounce the flesh of dead animals. So that was a moment for me, and I give God thanks for that time in my life, right? So I stepped away from fish, Jamaican ackee and saltfish. Can you just imagine that when you live abroad, you know how that goes. Everybody who has lived abroad, you know how that goes. And yes, I had to step away. From it. Now, after stepping away from it, I carried on my plant-based diet, and I started coming down in weight. The weight started coming down nicely. However, before the weight even started coming down nicely, there was 1 year I exercised for the whole year. I must tell you this, right? I exercised for 1 whole year, 6-7 days a week sometimes, and I never lost any substantial amount of weight. So I lost 5 pounds. 5 pounds. I lost 5 pounds. Yes, I lost 5 pounds. And then we had Christmas. And of course, I gained it right back. I gained it back in November. Christmas never ever came and I gained it back. Just by preparing for Christmas, I gained it back. So I got really depressed as well, again, when I could not lose the weight and I'd lost my willpower and motivation to exercise. I'd literally just stopped exercising. But the Lord had mercy on me, right? Now, by then, I still had not gone into a church, right? And at that time, I was just taking maybe baby steps, right? I was at a point in my life where I was just struggling to pray, really, right? So my steps towards Jesus. So after that situation where my friend prayed for me, right, my journey after that was literally now moving towards Christ. But it was like this: I have a Bible. Where is it? I searched the whole house for that Bible. I found that Bible. I took the Bible out. I put the Bible on my dining table and I dusted it off. And intention is to read the Bible, is to start reading the Bible. So that's my baby steps towards Christ. And every day I'm passing, I'm cleaning up, and look, there's the Bible. It's getting dusty again. I dust it off again. Gotta read that Bible. And one man keeps saying, just put it back in the bookcase. And I'm like, no, I'm not putting it back, because if I put it back, I'm never ever going to read it. Leave it right here. And then time passed, and the Bible is still sitting there on the table. 2-3 times I'm dusting it off, dust start gathering on it. Then I decided, okay, I'm now going to put this Bible in my room. So I took that Bible up and I put it on my night table. And I'm like, I'm going to read this. So when I'm going to my bed at night, I'm going to take this Bible up and I'm going to read it. So that Bible was on my night table for a very long time. Again, getting dusty. Then I get tired of it on my night table and not being read. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to put this book right back in the bookcase. I've had enough. And I took it up and I reached the living room and I put it on the table. and I didn't put it in the bookcase. And I looked at the bookcase and I said, no. Took it back to the room, put it back. No, I didn't put it on the night stand. I put it on the bed. I said, it's going to start staying in the bed with me. I've got to read it. Keep it under the pillow. So as soon as you go in the bed, you will read that. You will read it. So that's what I did. I started putting it on the bed. I would go in the bed and I didn't read the Bible. Anyway, I decided, all right, since I can't read the Bible, let me start praying. I go on my knees. And as soon as I go on my knees, I fall asleep. And I kept doing that. I kept going on my knees nonetheless. And I said, I've got to pray one of these days. I've got to pray. I said, Lord, help me to pray. And I start to pray. And in the middle of the prayer, I fall asleep. And then I prayed one night without falling asleep. And this is what I prayed. I said, God, I'm afraid to pray. I'm afraid to ask you to change me because I don't want to be changed. I said, I don't know what the change will be. I don't know what the new me will be. I'm really scared to ask you to change me, but I know I need to be changed. Yeah. And I struggled with the Lord and change me or not change me. I need to be changed. Change me, but I'm afraid to be changed. I tell God, I don't know what the new person will be. I don't even know if I will like the new Davina. There are things in my life that I was doing, I didn't want to stop doing. I didn't want to stop my premarital sex. I didn't want to stop, there's many things I didn't want to change. I don't know what my life would have been like without them. And I just told the Lord straight up, I'm scared because I don't know what is in the unknown. I can't tell the unknown and I fear the unknown. But I want to learn to trust you and I want to learn to hand it over to you. So I slowly pray this prayer every night until I actually started reading the Bible. One day I took the Bible up. I took it up and I opened it. And I remember when I opened the Bible, it turned to this section. I can't remember what scripture it is now, but it turned to this section in the Old Testament where God told Moses, I believe it was, or maybe it wasn't Moses, maybe one of the other leaders after Moses, to go and destroy, I think it may have been Abimelechite, to go and destroy him and his people and everything. And I went, what? I'm like, this is very unlike God to tell someone to go and destroy these people. I'm like, they must have done something really bad for the Lord to pass that judgment on them. And so I wanted to understand why the Lord would say something like that. So I started reading the chapter before, and then I got even more interested. I needed to go further to understand the beginning of the story until I just started up and I said, you know what? Let's just start this thing from Genesis so I can understand this in context. So there you go. I started reading the Bible from Genesis chapter 1. And the Bible gripped me. And it was fantastic. It was amazing. And then I decided, okay, let me go to a church. And I started going to church. I started going to a Catholic church. And yes, you're wondering, what does this have to do with my weight and my health? Yes, because if you're physically sick, you are also spiritually sick, right? Whatever affects the body affects the mind. And whatever affects the mind affects the body. They don't go separate, go hand in hand. So the Lord was transforming me physically, but he was also transforming me spiritually. So I went into 2014, going into 2015. So I would say for 2014, that whole year, I considered myself taking baby steps with the Lord, getting closer and closer to God, praying a little bit more, reading the Bible. Now, 2014, December 31st, you have a New Year's. I decided I was going to go to church, and New Year's was going to catch me in a church. And that's even a story in itself. So I went to church, and the church I went to, the nearest church to me, I just walked into a Catholic church. And I remember being in that church, and I remember I don't hear a thing. I don't know what that priest had said that night. But all I remember is I was standing in that pew, and I was just praying, Lord, please help me, forgive me, change me, help me. I was just begging the Lord, and I felt like I was surrounded by angels. And I remember I went to that church for 3 consecutive services. And the third one, I think, or the second one, or somewhere thereabout, I said, God, even though this church is all Black people, somehow I don't feel at home here. It's so close to home, and it's all, Black people, Caribbeans and Africans. Somehow I don't feel like this is like I belong here. And the Holy Spirit said to me, you're supposed to be a Seventh-day Adventist. Oh my God, I am supposed to be a Seventh-day Adventist. I'm supposed to go to church on Sabbath. It's been so long. I haven't kept a Sabbath. I didn't even remember about God's Sabbath. And then I said to my daughter, we need to find a Seventh-day Adventist church that is close to us. I said to her, there's normally one in every town. And she Googled and she found one, and she said, yes, one is actually quite close. It's like 8 minutes drive away or something like that. And the following week we tried. I tried, but I didn't find the church. And then the next week I said to her, we've got to find it again. And she said, you know what? It's just 8 minutes. Let us walk. We don't have to drive. Let us walk, and then we'll find it better. So we walked, and we found the church. And that I went in. I was standing at the door, and the person who was doing the welcome recognized me from my job. And he went, oh, this lady, we want to welcome this lady from, and he mentioned the name of the restaurants that I used to manage. And he said, she's the greatest chef ever. She cooks the most amazing vegan food. And I felt so at home. And I sat down in the pew, and I'm like, God, this is home. It felt like I was at the right place. And yes, so at church now, this is how my transformation truly began, and now how I take the weight off. I remember going to church every Sabbath. I mean, I would go in the mornings, and I would have to rush out. Sometimes the amen is not even said as yet before I had to grab my bags and jump out to go to work. But I remember as I was there one Sabbath at church, and I started getting uncomfortable, by the way, with leaving church early. So I worked out with my colleague where, so we had a business together, and I worked out with him like, look, I will do all Sundays, and I will do the whole day on Sunday. So you can have that with your family. And if you do all day Saturday, so I can have it to go to church. Man, he was over the moon with that arrangement, because he had a wife and 2 young kids and a baby in the arm. So for him, that was amazing grace. And for me, that was how sweet the sound. So he did all Saturdays, I did all Sundays. So then now I was able to stay at church and stay for the whole day. And I remember I also got to the point where we were selling alcohol, and I had the license for the alcohol and to teach others how to make alcoholic drinks. And I started feeling like I don't want to drink this anymore. So I don't actually want to give it to anyone to drink. And I never felt comfortable. So eventually I sort of just stepped out of the business arrangement, out of the business agreement. So just lost all my money and my investment and everything, but I decided, you know what, God, I'm just going to do this because I no longer feel comfortable doing such and such. But what was one of the best things is while I was at that church, I remember I wanted to fast. So when we touched 2015, right, when I did that New Year's thing, I wrote my what you call New Year's resolution. And one of the points on my list, right, was, Lord, please motivate me to exercise so I could lose the weight. I really wanted to start exercising again. So I put that on my list. Now, there was a gentleman at the church that was sick. It may have been cancer at the time. So I was new, so I don't really know who was what, etc. But I remember they made an announcement that Sabbath that, like Elder ABC is ill, and the family is asking that nobody visits him at the hospital because he needs to rest, that sort of thing. Now, at the end of the service, there was this women's ministry group that I was in, and someone texted in the group to say, look, she feels impressed by the Lord to pray and fast for this brother for a week. Is there anyone who wants to join her? Now, I was praying, for the Lord to help me to pray and fast as well. And in fact, that Sabbath when the announcement was made, that was my very first time fasting. So I'd fasted that Sabbath, and I tried over and over before. And every time I say I'm going to fast, by the time it touched 10 a.m. in the morning, I start feeling sick. I start feeling nauseous, and I just couldn't last past 10 o'clock. And that Sabbath, I remember praying and asking God before, Lord, please, I'm going to fast this Sabbath. Please help me to fast for the whole day. And I did fast for the whole day that Sabbath. So that was my first time, April 11th, 2015. I fasted for the first time. I think April 11th, yes, it was a Sabbath. And then the announcement was made, she said she feels impressed to pray and fast with the brother. If anybody wants to join her, please join her. And I was the first to hold my hand up. And then, when a separate WhatsApp group was formed with all those who wanted to pray and fast, it was 11 of us, who's ladies. And I said, look, I actually had a list of things that I wanted to pray and fast over. Can I present my list here as well? And she said yes. And everybody else came up and said yes, they wanted to pray and fast as well. And they all have a list. So we all put our list together and prayed for a week. That prayer and fasting for the week completely transformed my life, right? So by the end of the week, one of my things on my list that I was praying for, the Lord actually answered it. And I was over the moon. And I was like, God, I fasted for 1 week and God answered this. Then what if I fast some more? So I started, so I would take a break, right? I would take a break for maybe a week or 2 weeks, and then I would go on and fast again for another week. Or I would fast for 3 consecutive days, or I would fast for 2 days out of the week. So I started a life now where fasting was now a regular part of my life. Now, as I was doing that, the toxin was leaving my body. My metabolism started kicking in as well, and I started shedding the weight. And I didn't even realize, because I was so fat and I was so depressed over my obesity that I literally stopped using the mirror. So every mirror in my house, I had covered them and I wouldn't use mirror. And then my friend said to me one day, don't you see you losing weight? And then I looked and I'm like, yes, because I saw my gaps between my clothes. I'm like, wow. Pulled down the things of the mirror and look, I was like, wow, I'm losing weight. And I was so excited. Now I was motivated to actually start exercising. So I started, obviously I took time with myself. So I started my stretches and stuff like that again. Nothing too strenuous, but I started doing a little bit of exercise. And I saw the impact that had on my life. The fasting, with the exercise, I'm now eating much healthier than I used to eat before. I saw the difference it made. So by the time I started church, I was already vegan, but I wasn't a good vegan. I didn't have the knowledge and understanding of what true eating healthy was about, right? So I was just, as I said, I removed this, I removed that, but I still had everything in my house was in a tin or in a bottle. It was all processed food. I was a convenience girl, right? So I would just go to the supermarket and I would just pick up what's already prepared. That is a no of a lifestyle, all right? You should never do that. You should prepare your foods yourself from scratch. That's the best way for health. Now, as I started transforming, I remember when I decided, I felt like there was need for me to understand more about plant-based nutrition for my own health purposes, right? So I could get rid of this, and because I had so much disease, and I just knew a plant-based diet is the best, but I needed to understand more about how to nourish my body properly. And then you were hearing all these craze about superfoods, and I'm like, what is that? Superfood. So I needed knowledge and I needed understanding. So I started searching, and I also just really wanted to change my career as well. I just wanted to do something different. I was so sick and tired of business and the restaurant business as well. I just wanted to come out of it. I just needed a breath of fresh air. So I started searching the internet for a nutrition course, but I couldn't find what I wanted. Everything meant forever and a day in a classroom. And I'm like a single mother. I've got bills, I've got life to take care of and a child. So I can't go sit in the classroom like a full-time student because I've got to work and I've got to look after her. So I remember anyway, making up my mind that, I'm going to return home to Jamaica and I'm going to go back to NCU and I'm going to do dietetics. Not something I really wanted to do, but I felt like that was the way to get to where I wanted to go to, because I wanted to be a naturopathic doctor. By then, my desire had moved from just learning and understanding about nutrition to being a naturopathic doctor, right? So I started sorting myself out to come back home. Then one day the Lord would say, go and check again. And I went online and I checked again. And then I realized I found this health and wellness course offered by Andrews University that was being offered in the UK at the Adventist University in the UK. And I went, yes, when I looked at the course outline, I said, yes, Lord, this is exactly what I want to do. And when I looked at the price, as we all know, I went, oh my God, I said, I'm not going to walk with a begging bowl. How am I going to pay for this? Anyway, I was there just scouting around on the website, just looking on their website. And then I saw job opportunities and I clicked on that. And then there was a job for a vegan chef or something like that, and a menu coordinator. And I looked at the job description. I'm like, hold on, but I tick all the boxes here. I said, this job is just right up my street. And I filled out the application form, applied for it forever and a day. Then I eventually heard back from them. And cutting long story short, I got the job. When I went there to work, I also got the course as a part of my professional development. So I did not have to pay a penny for the course. My job covered it. So I was over the moon. I went, I did my course, I did that course, and the information that I learned there, that reversed my high blood pressure. I got so much energy, my skin started changing, I started to look better, I felt good, I felt fit, I started to really exercise now, and my life springboard and changed. But I still had, even though I reversed the high blood pressure and I looked better and I felt better, I was still, I'd come down in size to, let me share with you what size I was by then. So the picture here on the exercise ball, I was just about that size or close to that size, but on the first, so somewhere near there, I was about a size 14, 16, 14 when I started working there. And then I came down to a 12, 14. This on the ball is about a 12, 14. And then I moved from the size on the exercise ball in a couple of months to somewhere about this size here in the picture in the black and white. Right, so that's how the Lord helped me to transform. But what happened now is November 2017, I went out. So as I gained the knowledge, right, from the course, I believe I received it freely. The Lord always said this to me, freely give, freely receive, freely give. So I received that course free, no charge. So I started every class I went to. At the end of every class, I would do a blog. And I would share that on Facebook, on all my social media platform, and I would just share information with anybody who would listen. I would just teach them about health and health and well-being. Now, a church had seen my work that I put out there, and they called me and asked me if I could do a presentation at their health day on exercise. So I did that. While I was there, I met a medical missionary who ran a clinic, health and wellness clinic in the UK. And I, had a talk with them and, then did some volunteer work, etc. with them. And they treated me for the rest of conditions that I had. And in, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months time, something thereabout, I knocked out my diabetes completely. I came down slim and trim to my ideal body weight. I looked good. Now I felt good. I thought I looked good before. I thought I felt good before. Whew. The energy levels were now through the roof. My brain was now sharper, mind clearer. Everything was now elevated. As I, with the transformation at that clinic with the herbs and the support, and the diet, and the changes that they put me on, plus it was guided, it was, supported. So it was absolutely fantastic. The clean that they gave me, I felt good and I looked good. And then I decided, so there you go. That's my transformation from a size, UK size 22, 24 to a size 8, 10. So let me just leave this picture on the screen a little bit. Right. So from the top, look at the transformation. Look at the two top pictures. which were both taken in 2013, it looks like a complete different person from the persons at the bottom. So that's my journey. That's my transformation. Not only was I transformed physically, but I was also transformed spiritually. The Lord took charge of my mind because I gave it to him. I submitted myself to him in his hands. I laid myself and I just asked him to change me spiritually, change me physically, make me his own, clean me up, fix me up. And he did exactly that. And I am standing in front of you live and direct today. And I want to say to you that your transformation is possible. If you're going through any struggles, fear not. You're not on your own. The Lord is with you. There is no sickness that he cannot heal. There is no weight that is tough that he cannot shift. It takes discipline. It takes obedience. You've got to want it and you've got to go for it and you can't give up. Obstacles will come in your way. There was a point when my B12 had got low and I had to start eating back eggs. So I ate back eggs for, 3 months or so and build up my B12 levels naturally. And then I go back to my plant-based life. So that since 2016, I have not touched any form of animal products. And here I am in good health because now I understand how to care for myself, how to nourish myself. And now I've made it my life journey, my life. It is now in my DNA, my blood, my everything to help others to transform their lives the natural and wholesome way and God's way, so that you don't have to make the mistakes that I made, and so that you don't have to feel alone doing it either. So as I go, thank you very much for the invitation. May the Lord's blessings be upon the pastor, the elders, and every member of the church, as well as the visitors that are in your presence today. May the Lord bless and keep everyone. And remember, God is in your corner. He actually wants to help you, but you've got to trust him. It will not happen without you exercising your faith. So by your faith, you are made whole. Today, if it's diabetes, it can be reversed 100%. I did it. You can do it too. If it's high blood pressure, it can be 100% reversed. I did it. You can do it too. If it is cancer, it can also be reversed. I had a tumor in my colon. I did it. You can do it too. If it is fibroids, what they call black woman's disease, you can reverse it. I did it. You can do it too. And even if I never had it, you can do it because Christ said you can. He said he's willing and he's ready to heal you of all your diseases. You just need to trust him and obey his commands, and he will do it for you. If you just want to learn how to transition from an animal diet to a plant-based diet, you can do it. Christ Jesus can help you. And if you need my help, you can ask for my number. I will just let you know my number now, and you can write it down. 876-779-6813. So that's 779-6813. Thank you once more. I'm Davina from the Natural Remedy